I guess we can skip it for today. Okay, well, okay, that's all right. So, one of the things that some of us on this in this call may have um, a chronic illness or something that they've been dealing with for a long time, but many people have not. And so, um, we're dealing with an event that is a long-term event, and it can be wearying, it can be tiring, it can be exhausting, it can be a big annoyance. And at some point, people, I mean, you may see it around you. People are like, I'm just sick of COVID. I'm tired of it. I just wish it would go away. I'm done with it. I wish it was over. All of that. And it's understandable that people are feeling that way. Um, whether you've had experience with a long-term event or not, it's not unusual or uncommon for people to feel that way. You know, what as the adults in the room, in this room, I know many of you probably have children that you're also responsible for and caring for, or taking care of, or assisting in caring for. It's really important for us to maintain our own emotional, psychological, spiritual health during this time, because children rely on us, and rely on our emotional strength in order to get them through. And I'm particularly concerned tonight and want to talk about self-care for the adults in the room, because we know that African American children, there's a crisis, suicide for African American children, and they are not doing well in this. The number of kids there, it's disproportionate number of African American children have been left without a parent or guardian because of COVID. Um, Black and brown children are more likely to have a parent that's an essential worker, and so they have borne the brunt and the burden of losing parents more frequently, more often than children of other ethnicities. Um, Black and brown children are more likely, because their parents are usually maybe essential workers or service workers, may also be uh, with a parent that may have experienced where they might have gotten COVID. So it's important to us to maintain our emotional strength and our emotional resilience, because we're going to have not only you know more children to take care of going forward, not just for ourselves, but for the community around us and the people around us. So, um, so what does that mean? In this during this time, what does it mean that you're practicing some self care? You know, um, One of the things that I think, there are lots of things. Well, I can give you a whole. I can run through my list of 6, 7, 8 things you can do. Hello, Miss Walker. Shirley's in the room. I can run through my list of 8 things that you can do to um, increase your emotional resilience, um, keep your help you to keep your sanity, um, strengthen your internal armor, your fortitude, um, and I'm certainly happy to do that. And then once I'm done, if people have other things that they would like to share about things that they're doing, I would really appreciate that. Hearing what other people are also doing. Um, I think it's important. So number one, I think it's important to give yourself a break, permission to take a break every day. Some point during the day, put in some break time in your day, um, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Um, Find some time during your day to relax. Maybe perhaps listen to some music, reading, taking a bath, meditating, doing something that you enjoy. And I call those like the mini vacations, the miniature little vacations within your day. You know, find some time to do that. Whether it's, so for me, I get my cup of chai latte and I sit in the corner and look out over the lake, look out at the view, and that's my moment. Just make sure that you have, an opportunity to have that moment. Um, Number two, exercise, even if it's just a short walk around the block. Now, I have to admit, I haven't always been faithful about my walking every day, um, but I do try to do some kind of physical activity every day. Um, Eat healthy foods. Yeah, I know a lot of us have talked about we've got the COVID 20 or the COVID 40. I got my COVID 20. That I've gained. Um, but I'm still cognizant that I need to eat healthy, that I need to drink plenty of water. So I'm back on okay, I'm going to work on drinking water every day, and I'm back to doing that, and back to, because in the very beginning I was like really on it. I had my vitamins every day, and I had all these supplements every day that I was taking. I had my smoothies, and I was, here we are 2 years later, and I'm like, well, I stopped walking every day. Well, I stopped doing, and but don't get on yourself too bad if you've lapsed, because it's hard to do this over 3 years or 4 years or however long this is going to take. We have no idea how long we're going to be in this moment. So don't get hard on yourself. We all will lapse. As long as you get back to it at some point and and get back on it. In fact, I'm about to talk to. I know Miss Walker was talking about doing her cleanse, and I might be joining her on that because it's like, ooh, I looked at the scale and said, oh, I need to join. I need an accountability partner. And she's right in my building, so I might join her. I might ask her to join me in that.
Can I
And
share something? You talked about self-love. Can I share something from a book that I
sure.
have?
Mm-hmm.
The book is Self-Love. It's by Megan Logan, and you might know this writer, but it talks about what is self-love. It says self-love is the fuel that allows an individual to reach their full potential and is full with compassion, grace, and gentleness. Making space and prioritizing ourselves allows us to embrace our lives completely and wholeheartedly. Self-love is learning to extend kindness towards ourselves, even when struggle, even when you struggle and suffer. It is extending forgiveness to ourselves when we make mistakes. Self love means prioritizing ourselves and giving ourselves permission to find and believe in our strength and gifts. Sometimes it means putting ourselves first. Sometimes it means making space, like you said, to identify our needs and wants. You said take some space time for baths, right? Sometimes it means
Right.
making space to identify our needs and wants. It involves setting boundaries, and setting boundaries involves self love. These two concepts work together. And then they say,
Ooh,
what does
can you
self,
put?
hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh,
I I thought I was cutting you off, and I stopped.
oh no. It goes to say a lot of things. The benefit of loving yourself is, be a kinder, gentle you, more energy for living fully, more love to share with others, a healthy relationship with loved ones, and no longer dependent on external measures for self success. A lot of
Exactly.
good stuff.
Exactly. Is that a book that you're reading?
Yeah, it's a self-love workbook for women, and it's by
Oh, okay.
Megan Logan, and she's a social worker.
Self-love for women. Okay.
Put it in the chat.
Thank you. Please do. Um,
And it's like a workbook. You can answer questions. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Okay. We are, there's a group of us that's actually doing a blog series on uh, caregiving and taking care of ourselves as caregivers. And I think that that would be an excellent resource. There are a couple of things you said in there that I really tuned into. The one about creating boundaries. You know, we are in an unusual time, and sometimes, you know, people can be pulling at you for various things, and you know, and using up your time and your energy. And it's okay, you know, during this time to say you have to pull back. Maybe you might have to reduce some of, you know, some activities or some activities where you're giving, you know, because now if you're uh, caregiving for somebody else in particular, particularly during this time of COVID, you know, you may not have the energy or the time or the mental bandwidth to take on maybe the 50 projects that you that we tend to be on, because people, if you're a person that can get stuff done, people tend to go to you first because you get stuff done. Okay. So, you know, but it's okay to say, you know, I can't take that on. I need to pare down. I need to simplify my life and be okay with that, because we are in an unusual situation, you know, and maybe you might want to prioritize your life and, you know, in a different way. um uh you know, I know that, you know, for me, you know, I have a Sunday afternoon, uh some older people, elders that I go see every Sunday afternoon, and that is a commitment, you know, that I make, because if I didn't go visit them, they would really, you know, it's a way for them to have a social life, and it's a way for them to have something to look forward to every week. You know, I'm their fun, you know, and they have, you know, um, and, you know, and I'm, you know, I made the commitment that I'm going to do that with them for the duration of this pandemic every Sunday, because I'm their fun. And if you think about, well, how do older, their son lives in Seattle, their daughter lives in a suburb um, in Northwest Chicago, and you know, these are my, you know, colleagues and friends, and they're in their 90s. But, you know, it's important for them to have fun on their calendar too. And they were going stir crazy, being stuck in the house, by, you know, just the two of them, without, you know, much, you know, company, you know, and they have their own, you know, physical challenges as well. So it's not like it's so easy for them to, you know, it's not like they can get out on their own and go do stuff and that kind of thing. Um, so, you know, it was important that I do that. And I think they're fun too, because I think they're a hoot. So that's kind of my fun. So I guess I get just as much out of that as they do. Um, But the important thing though is that, and that gets me to another thing that's important about the self-love piece. Make sure that you schedule fun on your calendar. You know, that you're doing something, that you have something to look forward to. Um, uh, you know, so it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Maybe it's just simply, you know, you designate one night a week where you're going to watch a comedy, your favorite comedians, or um, uh, you're going to, you know, I don't know. People have different ideas about what, you know, whatever's fun for you, whatever floats your boat, you know, takes your talker, whatever it is that for you is fun, engaging, makes you laugh, brings joy. You know, if you have something to look forward to once a week, at least once a week, put fun on the calendar and follow through. That will help see you through, because that'll give you something to look forward to, something that you can say, okay, I know, okay, I know I'm going to do this by the end of the week, or I'm going to see so and so, you know, before this week is out, and that will take care of some of the dreariness of this time. Um, so, you know, it's important to find time for laughter and joy. Um, and to have something to look forward to. Spend time with positive people who make you feel good about yourself. So, uh, so it's, I have, so in my, when I think about like who's in my uh, personal sphere, I've sort of, if you are a person that brought too much drama and toxicity into my life, I've kind of had to like back away from those relationships because this is an unusual time that we're living in. And it was probably good, it was good for me anyway. I mean, you don't need to have a whole lot of toxic people in your life anyway. So, um, but it's important to be around people who are bringing some level of positivity and joy to you in a hope uplifting you. Um, somebody, did I hear somebody come on? They wanted to say something? Okay. Um,
No, Dr. Blessing, you're fine.
okay. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Who was it? You don't have to be a superwoman. Somebody put, there's an article, somebody listed, one of our members, Renee listed, is it Renee? Karen listed in the chat. You don't have to be a superwoman. You
It's
know,
a great article. Somebody sent that to me from LA.
can you summarize it for us, Karen? Did,
You know, as Black women, we are always doing a lot. We're doing too much sometimes. We're taking on the toxic people. We're dealing with them, like you talked about. We're taking on visiting people and giving so much of ourselves that we don't make time for ourselves. So it tells us to step back, take that cape off, and give
mhm,
yourself that love and self care. It's a great article.
great, great. Um, right. Uh, and I realize that it may be, it's written in this regard, written uh, for women or about women. But I'm also thinking about a guy that I know who is, he has two parents. He just moved back. He just moved to Chicago. He has two parents that he's caring for, and his partner also has slight dementia, and his partner uh, has a lung infection. And I keep telling myself, well, Eric, I can bring some gumbo over and some cornbread and just drop it off at your door so you can have, just so you don't have to cook tonight. Or but he never says yes to anything that and sometimes is there anything you want me to do or anything you need to do, you would like for me to do? I've got all the biosafety protocol stuff, so we can do this safely or whatever. So sometimes there are some men out there who are engaging in some, seriously burdened with a lot of self-care or a lot of caregiving responsibilities and not having, enough time to do the self-care that they need. And so if you find some men that are in that situation, please reach out to them. And what he will tell me is the fact that you called and asked about me is enough. And so, every 3, 4 days, I make sure I call and ask about him. How you doing? What can I do? You know, Sometimes he just calls and just wants to unload. And if that's what he needs right now, okay, that's what I'll do. Um, but there are also guys out there that are, really loving, terrific guys out there that are also, needing to find some ways to do some self-care and some self-love as well.
If men, if you look at an article, you have to take it and you glean what works. So even though it has women, you can take it into another vein. So if you send it to him, he would probably say that's a great article. Just take the he, change it to her, she, his, her, hers, his, and it'll give them the same message. It's a powerful article,
Great.
especially with all the suicides and all these things are going on. It's a fantastic article.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know I started with talking about, how our kids are being impacted by this, but actually all of, the whole adults are also being impacted by this, um, by what's happening in the pandemic. We're talking about divorce rates skyrocketing, um, addiction rates are skyrocketing, domestic violence is skyrocketing. So it speaks to all of that, speaks to the impact that this pandemic is having on the mental, emotional, psychological health of our communities as a result. Um, some of it has to do with, yeah, the pandemic hit and then folks lost jobs, or, the financial instability that came along with it. So that's, so it's all of that mixed in that creates this fertile ground, you know, for emotional distress, increased emotional distress, and we certainly see that happening across the board, and not just with our kids. Um, so I'm thankful that we have this group, because this group is a way for all of us to kind of uh, come together for a minute. Well, I shouldn't say for a minute, for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and vent and share and perhaps get some good useful information, but also to connect with other people and and talk story and share. And that's also a good part of self-care. Um, we connecting with others and listening to their stories, how they have overcome, how they've struggled and survived, or how they have thrived, is also a way of showing. So just doing this is a good way of showing some self-care and self-love for yourself. um, so I know that I'm grateful for this community. Grateful that you are here every night, or night every Tuesday night, and grateful that we have learned from each other, shared with each other, prayed for each other, talked about our concerns with each other, but also talked about our victories and our joys and how we've thrived. So on that note,
Dr. Blessman, excuse me, if you put your email in the chat, well, I can't, and I'll send it to you. I want to send you some stuff. I try to take some pictures or something. If you
okay,
want me to the book or your phone number, and I can text it to you, whatever.
okay, I'm sending through my email in the.
'Cause it
Oh,
has a
wait a
nice
minute.
self-assessment. Where are you at in your self-love journey? And it has these questions and.
Uh, Michelle, is it Patricia Jones Blessman?
Yes, it is.
At
I have yours, Michelle. I have yours at Michelle Miller at Auset-Isis.org. Okay.
Yes.
She gave me this long one. I think that's it. At offset.isis.org. Yes. Patricia Jones Blessman. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
And I'm not only going to use it for for my own personal edification, but I'm going to use this information, because it's like
So you put in the chat.
we're writing this series on caring for caregivers. How caregivers can and my segment is on maintaining your emotional strength while you're caregiving. And so, yeah, so
It didn't come up in the chat yet.
it's shared somewhere else, and
Let's see,
it
where is
becomes a
it?
bomb for somebody else or for somewhere else. Mhm.
Dr. Blessman, I don't see it in the chat.
Well,
Am I
you can,
doing
if you
Oh,
put it, if
I'm
you,
sorry. I unfortunately I didn't send it to everyone. I just
okay?
started typing.
So how,
I got it.
just tell me where to go and I'll find it.
Uh, no, it was I made a mistake and somebody sent me a direct message and I started typing and it went only to them and not to everyone. Okay, so it's in there. No, it went out to everybody.
Thank you. Okay. Copy it.
So somebody has posted in there. Oh, Eddie Joe, thank you. The Enogen 1G4 oxygen concentrator, Amazon Business Prime for 129. Yeah.
That's correct. It's 329 if you're, I guess, a nine prime or a prime member, but for business prime it's 129.
Um. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thankful my husband has a CPAP. So, okay, there's going to be our oxygen if we need to have some, because you can vary that. You can vary the pressure on that. So, um, but how soon? Now, when you went on there, how soon would you be able to get it if you were?
If you're a prime, well, I should check, but typically if you're a prime member, it takes roughly 3 business days. But
Okay.
if you
So,
like, I can check and let you know.
okay. See, I'm just not. That's like having a piece of the medical equipment in your home for something that might happen. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody will have to make their own decision about that. But I personally,
Are you talking about the oxygen?
yeah, yeah. You know,
Uh,
I- the only I would think that if you lived in a city where they're not going to treat you because you're unvaccinated, then you might want to make sure, and the hospitals are full. Then in that case, then you might want to make sure that in your community or in your bubble, there's some access to some oxygen somewhere. Okay.
And you don't have a CPAP.
You don't have a CPAP. Yeah. But I don't necessarily think that everybody got to now go out and get you know, an oxygen tank.
Oh, gosh.
You know.
Also in the chat, I put you could get 6 cans of oxygen, 11-ounce cans for about $80.
Now, how do those work? I've never tried those before.
I don't.
So,
I was just looking it up, and I have no idea, but probably similar to the concentrated energens. They probably have a tube or something you can put in your nose.
yeah. Again, if you got COVID, if you were to, get infected, have COVID, and your oxygen levels started to go down, you're going to need oxygen immediately. This is not something that you can wait 2 or 3 days for. I mean, this might be fine for, the reason why Lane bought it is because he is giving himself oxygen therapy because he's had lung damage from his bout with COVID. But in terms of treatment, he probably needed to have had it. It would have been better for him to have had oxygen treatment in the early stages. So, like when my goddaughter, not goddaughter, when Melissa, my cousin's daughter, got sick, um, she has comorbidities. Some of them are serious, and she's not vaccinated. But she got treatment she got oxygen treatment, I say within the first 5 days. And she was on the dexamethasone in the first 5 days of having COVID. Her blood, she did have a pulse oximeter. Her oximeter ratings did start going down, and they got down as low as 58. And they took her to the hospital immediately. and she was still texting and stuff. I mean, you don't know how close you are. When they told me that it got down to 58, I said, oh, that was way too low. I should have been going when she hit 70. But talking to the doctor when it got under like 89. But anyway, she got there, and they put her on oxygen right away. Thankfully, there was room in the hospitals in Cleveland, and she got a bed. She got oxygen treatment. But it works better early on, and you need it immediately because it can drop like really fast. You don't know that it's. In fact, you may not even really know that it's dropping, and that's why in our book we talk about how it's important to, once you get diagnosed with COVID, to check the blood oxygen levels every 4 hours, because things can change dramatically inside of 4 hours.
You talked about human end as well.
Mm-hmm. Early on, yeah.
Can you talk about those pills again?
Human N. If you get COVID, Human N it's actually the nitrous oxide, and it's been used to treat COVID early on. And what it does is it helps the blood vessels to stay open so that they can oxygenate or send oxygen through your body, and especially your organs, because that's the thing that's problematic with COVID, is that as you start losing oxygen, you start losing oxygen to vital organs. And the one organ that is the weakest in your body is going to be probably the most impacted. So you want to make sure your blood stays highly aerated, and that's what the nitrous oxide does. Also, they find that COVID has a harder time replicating in oxygenated blood. So that is the reason why you got to keep your blood levels and not blood levels, your oxygen levels up, so that COVID will have a harder time to survive in that environment. So one of the things that I will sometimes notice about men is that they'll get like a little cough or whatever, and they're not they're just thinking, oh, I'm gonna tough this out, and they really don't start paying attention that they're really sick until they like really sick, because they're macho, they gonna tough it out, okay, you know, uh, you know, whatever it is that they say. Eddie Joe, help me out. Whatever it is that guys say to themselves, they're macho. They just gonna, they just not gonna let this little physical whatever is going on like get to them. Well, and it's actually in those times when you first start having symptoms that you actually have the best chance to knock it out, and if you take it seriously at that point. And it's not being a wimp, and it's not being hypochondriac, and it's not being like too fragile or too frail to think about, well, I might need to take a look at my health right at this moment. It's actually life-saving, because if you hit it early, it's easier to knock out. So that's the Superman cape that men wear, is that they're like, they see themselves as physically strong and tough and stoic, and I'm not gonna let anything get me down. And at the same time, they're not paying attention to the physical signs that they may have COVID, and they may be, it may be building up to something, because because it starts off as just being this little cough, this little persistent cough, or maybe it's just a little sore throat at the beginning or whatever.
If I can offer a side note on that, Dr. Blessman.
Yes, please.
I have a military background, so I've been, my position, and I've pretty much been trained to be healthy and to be prepared for the fight. And so that's kind of my position. So I like to stay healthy and be in front of anything that might slow me down or take me out. So that's the other side of it. And that, I guess that's my macho part of it, you know.
Okay.
That's all I got, unless you
Okay.
want to hear a couple of other things right quick.
Right quick, we're going to start wrapping it up, but we can end on your note, Mr. Eddie Joe. Give us a
Okay.
couple.
Just a couple of things. I think I mentioned this before, NAC, that's N-acetyl L-cysteine, NAC. It's capsules you can take for your lungs and liver. And some of the NAC comes with milk thistle. Milk thistle is also good for your liver. So that's one of the more important things that one could take. Just to, you can take that on a daily basis just for good health of lung and liver. Also, natural blood thinners, I'm sure I mentioned that before. Celery juice, hawthorn, or also hibiscus. I've never seen hibiscus in a pill form, but you can get the flowers and dry flowers, petals, and make tea out of it. It's excellent. So, and hawthorn you can get in capsules, and celery just from, make sure it's organic celery, and you can make celery juice, and that helps thin your blood naturally.
You can't hardly find NAC. You got to really hunt around for it because it goes fast off the shelf.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me. I think people are starting to find out about some of these things.
Yes, they are.
Exactly. So on
Okay.
that note, everyone, we're going to call it a good night. Thank you. And as we say on this show, we're not just we're going to live and thrive, not just survive through this pandemic. So I will see you next week, 7:00.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
night.
you. Good
Thank
night.
you. Appreciate
Good
both
night,
of you.
Michelle. Hi,
Good
Michelle.
night.
Excellent delivery. Good night.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
everyone.
Y'all be safe.
Good night.
Thank
Travel
you.
safely, Michelle.
Thank you. Home Friday.
Okay. Absolutely.
Michelle, I got a question. Did you bring your own sheets?
Mm-mm. I sprayed them with Clean Smart.
Clean smart. Okay. All right. That's smart. Like, I went my ionize a little change to my family.
You got you.
Dr. Flex, and I ordered some. They weren't really. I ordered not. I don't think it was the ones you ordered. It was some of them, but I got like these little necklaces. I got some for the children, and I'm waiting for them to come. I can't wait. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
And Dr. Blessman, Miss Shirley, Miss Bolden.
Hi.
I'm just so glad that you are, well, I'm glad you got food because it looks like you're going to be like stuck in your hotel room doing training from your
Yeah,
hotel
we're gonna
room?
train. I told the doctor that I will train them remotely tomorrow if I can't get out. I mean, I can drive in snow, right? I lived in Chicago. I was like, the clinic is 3 miles away, straight shot down the street.
Oh, okay.
But the direction is coming from their higher up, so it's no big deal. I can,
Okay.
It's fine. I'm good.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
You good?
I start early tomorrow morning, but I did want to touch bases with you.
Okay. So you want to wait here? You want me to leave and come back or what?
Oh, no. I'm going to go ahead and lay down because they want to start at 7 in the morning.
Ooh. Yeah,
So,
girl, go to bed.
Yeah, we supposed to get off early Friday, and I'm just gonna make my way to the airport, and I have like a hour and a half drive back to Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not busy, I'll call you.
On Friday? I can tell you right now. Wait a minute.
If you have some bandwidth.
Calendar, Friday.
Do you not? I just need to, that link, I have gotten messages back from our constituents that the link is not working for the Skin Guard.
Wait a minute. You're digitizing again.
Okay.
Let
Is
me
it
call
better?
you. Let me leave and I'll give you a call.
Oh yeah, I'm unstable. Okay.
All right. You're digitizing. I can't hear you. I'm going to leave and then give you a call.
Okay.